Good morning, everyone. It's about 4 minutes until the start of the webinar, so we're just welcoming you in, and we'll get started soon here. Thank you for joining us, and we'll get started with Dr. Mbugo soon. So thank you. So it's about 0 degrees Celsius here right now, but we're going to get up to about 10 today in Iowa, which is going to be nice.
Zero? Are you serious? Whoa!
Yeah.
This is. You're still in winter.
Yes, we're still in winter. We're progressing to the springtime. So
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is funny is that right now it is pretty hot in Nairobi. Yeah, it's our summer.
Yeah. What's the temperature out today?
No, sometimes it goes as high as 30.
Oof.
30 degrees C,
Oof. Yeah. that's warm for us, that's for sure.
Yes.
I remember a couple of weeks ago, we actually a colleague of ours here is from Ghana, and so and he was saying that in the northern part of Ghana it was 39 degrees C, and in our part of Iowa it was negative 30 degrees C. So anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll get started here, everyone. Thanks for joining us in about 1 minute. So appreciate everyone joining, and we'll get started here in 1 minute. Well, it's now 8 o'clock in Ames, Iowa, in the middle of the United States. I think it's around 5 p.m. where Jane is, and in Kenya. So I just want to welcome you all to this. I think this is our 11th webinar of the year, of our entire webinar series. My name's Kyle Poorman, and I'm the Communications and Policy Manager for the Consortium for Innovation in Post-Harvest Loss and Food Waste Reduction. The mission of the consortium is to preserve nutrients, improve livelihoods, and realize an efficient and effective food system. I'm so excited today to have Dr. Jane Mbugo here with us from the University of Nairobi. And before we get to her presentation on mango preservation, I have to go through a few housekeeping steps here. As always, we are recording the webinar, and we're live streaming on YouTube. The recording will be up on our YouTube channel just as soon as we can after the webinar is finished. Again, so excited to have Jane here talking about technologies and innovation for food loss reduction for smallholders and zero loss centers. It's a case study on the mango value chain in Kenya. If you know Dr. Mbuko, she is an expert in this field, and so I'm so excited about this presentation. Just a little bit about the consortium. We're made up of 9 institutional members and 2 major funders, the Rockefeller Foundation and the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research. Let me also say that each one of our institutional members are also bringing their own funding to the table. So basically we have 11 funders. I just wanted to say a big thank you, first of all, to the University of Nairobi and Dr. Mbuko for putting this presentation, this webinar together. Also, I'd like to say a big thank you to the University of Maryland. Behind the scenes, they're really the power in putting these webinars together. So thank you very much to those institutions. A little bit about the consortium is that we have institutional members and then we have collaborators that we do our research with. A whole bunch of different types of collaborators from other universities to NGOs to businesses. So we're really fortunate to have a whole host of great collaborators. And it's growing, it seems like it's growing daily. So the last webinar that we had, we had fewer collaborators than we did on this one. So without further ado, I'd like to acknowledge and just lift up Dr. Jane Mbuko from the University of Nairobi and turn this webinar over to her. And I think she also has someone to introduce as well who has joined us from the University of Pretoria. So thank you, Jane. Go ahead.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. My name is Jane Mbuko. I'm so glad to have you all in this webinar. I don't know if Professor Lindiwe has joined us. She's the one I was supposed to introduce.
I am online. I am online.
She's online. Yep.
Yes, Professor. I told them to invite you as among the panelists. Maybe you can just greet the people before I start the presentation.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to participate and learn from everybody else. My name is Professor Lindiwe Sibanda. I am the director and chair of the African Research University Alliance Center of Excellence in Sustainable Food Systems, hosted by the University of Pretoria, working in collaboration with the University of Nairobi and the University of Ghana. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you, Prof, and pleasure to have all the participants that are logged in. It's my pleasure to share some of my experiences in the mango value chain. I know there are many experts who are logged in, so it's an experience sharing webinar. So today I'm going to talk about technologies and innovations for food loss and waste reduction in zero loss centers, and we'll specifically look at mango. Though sometimes when you talk about mango, it represents many other fruits. So the case study is mango, but it applies to other fruits. Okay, so this is the outline of my presentation. I will give a small background.
Jane, I don't know if you're sharing your screen. So did you mean to share your screen? Yeah.
Am I not sharing?
You're not sharing yet, no.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me see. Share. Am I sharing now?
Yes, now you're sharing.
Okay, so I will go back to the beginning. Are we good? Are you able to see?
Thank you, Jen.
Excellent. Excellent. So I had talked about the title, and this is the outline of the presentation. I'm going to give a small background and then look at how we manage quality in the mango value chain from farm to shelf, and then introduce the concept of zero loss centers, and then I'll highlight some capacity building initiatives at the University of Nairobi. So mango is one of the major fruit produced in Kenya, and I know in many tropical countries. And the reason I'm so interested in mango is because it's a crop that is grown mainly by smallholders in Kenya, and the wastage in this value chain are enormous. It's estimated that 40 to 50% is lost, although sometimes when you interrogate the farmers, they tell you there is even more. So the actual losses vary with season, with region, and other factors. But what is reported is 40 to 50%. Now, when you have 40 to 50% of produce going to waste, the question you want to ask yourself, who pays the price? Because when you see that wastage, basically it represents wasted resources, inputs into producing those mangoes. So question is, who pays for that wastage along the supply chain? Now, this survey that what you're seeing on my screen now is a survey results of it's just an ad hoc spot check about mango pricing in the retail stores in Nairobi. So last week I was at the field and with my mango farmers, and I saw mangoes are retailing for 4 shillings, 4 cents, 4 US cents, which is like 4 Kenya shillings. So you want to ask yourself, so if they're selling for 4 cents at the farm gate, how much are they retailing in the retail outlets in Nairobi? And as you can see, I did another survey in 2018. So what you see in blue are the prices of a piece of mango. And I went for one particular variety, which is called the apple mango. So you can see in 2018, you can see the prices. And I was shocked when I saw that I could actually pay 66 cents for the same mango that is being sold for 4 cents at the farm gate. So this year when I went, the survey which is in red is something I did last week, and I was even more shocked that the same mango now retails for 96 cents, right? So when you see that wastage that we just pointed out, it tells you that there is a cost to it. And if farmers are being paid 4 shillings and they are the producers, and you're paying 96 shillings or cents, and you're the consumer, you're paying the price. The traders, when I interrogate them, they said, there's a lot of waste. We waste a lot of mango that come from the farm don't get to the market, or they're not sold because there's a lot of wastage. That's why they can't pay more. So it tells you that the farmer essentially has to pay for that wastage that we're seeing in the marketplace or along the supply chain. And then you and me as the consumer, if you have to eat mango, you're going to pay more. But you and me as the consumer, you can say, well, if it's that expensive, I'm not going to buy. But what about the farmer who has produced? They do not have a choice to say no. So either they take the 4 shillings or let it rot away in the farm. Now, that is the dilemma. That's the challenge that we have to address, right? So when we talk about food loss and waste in the supply chain, basically, this is a supply chain. There's some wastage or some loss occurs at each and every one of these stages. Yeah. So the question you have to ask yourself is how much loss occurs at the various stages, and what are the factors? What are the factors? What are the causes of the losses at each of these stages? And thirdly, is there any way we can minimize losses at all these stages? What technologies are there, if there are any, to address the factors that contribute to losses at the various stages of the supply chain? So when you look at the drivers and causes, there's what happens pre-harvest and what happens after harvest. So I won't talk too much about pre-harvest, but it's important to know that whatever happens in the field significantly affects first of all, the yield, the quality of the produce, which then we have to handle after harvest. So the focus today is on post-harvest, but we are cognizant of the fact that whatever happens in the field really affects the quality. Just to emphasize that, we say, if you're going to have produce that is of good quality, we have to optimize the production practices. We must optimize the harvest practices. And then when we have harvested the produce, it must be handled properly to ensure that the produce is preserved. And then when it comes to us, now in the post-harvest part of the supply chain, we can only preserve the quality. So we cannot add quality, but just preserve. So everything that happens before we step in as post-harvest experts must be right. Okay, so just to emphasize that, so basically is what I'm saying, that the choice of variety for the intended use in the target market, the water and nutrient management, pest and disease management in the orchard, the cultural practices that ensure that your orchard is neat, as you can see, thinning and pruning, those must be done right, because those impact on the quality, as you can see. Now, this photo I'm showing you, when it comes to pests and diseases, is one of the major factors that contribute to the wastage or the spoilage of mangoes when they're harvested. So you find, for example, in Kenya, one of the biggest challenges we have in the mango value chain is fruit fly, okay, and the mango weevil. Now, those two pests have actually cost us the export market. Farmers cannot export because of the phytosanitary standards, regulations to our target markets in Europe and US because of the mango weevil and the mango fruit fly. Now, last week, as I told you, I was in the field and the farmers gave me, we were doing a training and the farmers gave me a whole crate of mangoes, okay, as a gift. Because of me as having gone there. Now I brought those mango to my house, and they were good, very good looking at the farm level, and then they were not ripe, so I kept them in the in the store to ripen. But would you believe, half of those I couldn't eat because half of them had, a good number of them had mango weevil, a lot of them manifested the anthracnose. So some of these diseases or pests, you may not see them when you pick the produce, but they manifest later in the supply chain. So that's why I'm saying managing pests and diseases in the field is critical if you're going to have quality fruits that have to meet the market requirements. Then, of course, we have the harvest practices. I don't know about the other countries represented here, but it's common practice when you go to the farms. The way they harvest the fruits already, it leaves a lot to be desired. Sometimes you find the trees are so tall, so they simply shake the trees and the fruits fall off the tree. Or somebody climbs into the tree and harvests the fruits and throws them down to the ground. What impact does that have? You may not even see that the fruit is injured, but that injury will manifest itself later in the supply chain. That's why sometimes you find a good looking mango later in the supply, when you cut it, you find it is is rotten inside. It's because the practices the poor handling, harvest practices and handling practices. Then we have how do we handle the fruits after they're harvested? Now the picture you can see is a common scenario you find in the field. The fruits are harvested, they're just kept on the ground under the tree, and you can see already, apart from just poor handling that inflicts a mechanical injury, you can see these fruits, in terms of safety, they're not good. So if you're targeting a certain market, there's some germs, there's contamination that the fruits pick when they handle like this. So all these factors, we have to take care of them, because quality, like I said, preservation of quality does not start when the produce arrive at the zero loss centers. It starts all the way from the field. So see, when you get these fruits which are contaminated like this, that means when they come to your, to the center, the zero loss center that I'm going to talk about, they start rotting because of the germs or the contamination that occurred prior to them coming to the center. Okay, so basically what you're saying is, before the produce comes to what we're calling the zero loss aggregation centers, good management practice have been done pre-harvest, and that harvest stage and the immediate handling before they come to the center, so that whatever comes to the zero loss center is good quality mango fruits, which we then want to preserve the quality of. Okay, so the concept of zero loss center here basically is, first, like I said, and I repeat this over and over again, that high quality fruits must come to us, must come to the aggregation center or the zero loss center. Now, when those fruits come, it means each and every one of those fruits is going to be put in use, right? So some are going to be sold fresh, and those are the ones who want to ensure that the quality is preserved using the technologies I'm going to talk about. But whatever is not preserved for the fresh market can be processed into, we shall see, what we call wet processing or dry processing. And then whatever we have like a byproduct products or wastage that is coming from the processing can also be put into alternative use. So instead of throwing it in the garbage bin, it can also be utilized to make other useful products, as we shall see. Okay, so I'm going to talk, so the post-harvest technologies and innovations at the zero loss centers. Now, we have technologies for extending the shelf life. Now, there are many technologies. We need a week to just talk about those technologies. So today I'm going to focus, I'm just going to focus on cold storage technologies, but not that I don't appreciate the other technologies, but because I know cold chain management is one of the weak links in the perishable produce handling. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what we've been doing on cold storage technologies, and then of course you have technologies for processing, small scale processing. Like I said, in the zero loss centers, whatever is not sold as fresh produce can be value added into produce that can then be sold instead of it being unsold. Because you realize when mangoes are overripe, nobody's going to buy them. But what happens to those mangoes? If you don't have any capacity to value add, then you must have, they'll go to waste. So those are the kinds of wastage and losses we try to avoid at zero loss centers. Okay, so what you have there is an array of technologies for preservation of quality. I'm putting them all of them like this because all of these technologies, we have had research on them. Students have done thesis on them. So now they're ready. For us, we have evidence to go and promote them. Okay. So, but like I said, I will zero down just to the cold storage technologies because, like I said, temperature management is a weak link when it comes to managing quality of perishable produce. Now, why is it a weak link? You can see at the center, what causes the produce to ripen and eventually spoil? There are many factors. Those of us who are in post-harvest, we know these processes that continue. We say that harvested produce, mango or fruits and vegetables are living. Okay, so they continue. So all we do is say post-harvest actually is the science of prolonging death. Okay, they continue to respire. They continue, to transpire. So we minimize or reduce the rate of those processes, right? So for every 10 degrees increase in temperature, the rate of spoilage increases 2 to 3-fold. Okay, so that basically tells you if you handle your produce at the safe low temperature, then you can increase their shelf life. So that's why I'm gonna zero down on technologies for cold storage because of the importance in managing or handling fresh or perishable produce like mango. Okay, so what have we done? What are we doing at the University of Nairobi in terms of low-cost cold storage, which I'm going to talk about? There are 3 of them. This is our innovative cold storage technology demo and training unit at the University of Nairobi. So far, we have 3 kinds of technologies, and we have 4 in the offing, which we are hoping to receive sometime soon from the University of Brunel. So I'm going to unpack each and every one of these. Now, starting with the charcoal cooler, which is a technology that has been here for long. Okay, it is the photo you can see on the extreme right is the original design of charcoal cooler, and with this kind of charcoal cooler, it has the one that we had at the very beginning. It has a wooden frame. Of course, the charcoal cooler, basically you have a charcoal that is held in by what we call double wall made from chicken wire. So the very traditional one is made from chicken wire, and the frame is secured in place with wood. Now the challenge with that is that with time this wood rots, okay, and the chicken wire also rusts. So what our engineering people, I don't know if they're in the audience, I have a team of 2 engineers, Dr. Duncan Bunge and Mr. Mochoni. What they have done is to improve on this original design. Now what we have there, the first improvement they did is to replace the wood with galvanized aluminum. So now the issue of rotting wood was taken care of. But they went further and said, okay, fine, though we have a galvanized frame, it's still not a very strong structure because the chicken wire can still rot. rust. So what they have done lately is to introduce the fiberglass walls. So you can see the last picture you can see there is now the reinforced structure that is where the walls are made from fiberglass. Now the beauty of this is that the structure is very strong and it's very clean inside as opposed to the naked charcoal. So that hygiene issues are taken care of. And then the beauty of their design is because they have worked on this for some time, they have what they're calling a modular design. For example, if today you wanted a charcoal cooler of 3x3, they can quickly put it together for you because they have those designs in place. So they can custom make for you if you want the whatever size that you want. And the ongoing research, of course, one of the questions that we've been asked when you're promoting charcoal cooler is that charcoal cooler means you have to cut down trees to get the charcoal that is going to be used in the charcoal cooler. So what are the alternatives? So what we are now doing, the research that we're currently doing in partnership with the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, is to find alternative to charcoal, because basically all that charcoal does in evaporative cooling is to hold water. Because remember the principle of evaporative cooling, so I haven't elaborated on that because of time. It's just water evaporating, hot air passing through a medium, which could be charcoal or sand, as you shall see in the next technology, so that the air that gets in the inside of the charcoal cooler is humid and cool. Okay, so what the research you are currently trying to do is to explore an alternative inert material for charcoal, so that then you can have what you would call then environment friendly cooling system. The beauty of this charcoal cooler and the one that I'm talking the zero energy brick cooler that you are now seeing on your slide is they are off grid. They don't need electricity. So they are very appropriate for farmers in the rural areas. In Africa, we know electricity in the rural area is a challenge. So with or without electricity, you can have these technologies, and we have solar powered pumps that are used to to pump water. Because you can see water is supposed to circulate and continue to be evaporated for us to have the cooling effect. So back to the brick cooler. Again, just like the charcoal cooler, the original design that you can see here is has a wooden frame. And of course, again, just like in the charcoal cooler, this is prone to rotting. So what has happened is that the engineering team, what they did is to improve on this so that the frame that is now wood was original wood. Now we have the frame that is made from galvanized aluminum, making it less prone to rotting, as opposed to the wood. And then the unit that is on your extreme right is the latest model of the brick cooler that we have. And the beauty of this one is we're improving, we're using special bricks, which you can see, which are better than the ones that you see in the first and second photo. And the innovation in this one is that the unit is reinforced with steel rods. And why is that important? It's because our traditional or original charcoal cooler, or rather brick cooler, you can see the size is small. You can't build it higher because basically you interlock the bricks. So you can't build it high because it could collapse. But now the improved design that we have here, it has reinforced steel rods, so it can stand higher. So the research that we want to look at going forward is how tall can we build this brick cooler, because it's even cheaper than the charcoal cooler. So that is the latest innovation. Now the beauty of the two, the charcoal cooler and the brick cooler, they're totally off grid, and that's what we promote. That's what we're promoting for smallholder farmers in the rural areas. Now we have the cool board again. Another innovation is not ours. This innovation is actually a US innovation, which our University of Nairobi team adopted or did adaptive research and introduced it to Kenya, as I mentioned in an earlier slide. And it is very fair. This is just as good as any cold room that you can use. The innovation here is the cool board. What it does, it actually overrides the thermostat of the AC, so that you set your temperatures on the cool board. And for example, if I want 4 degrees C, which is the good temperature maybe to store tomatoes, you achieve your temperature and you store your produce there. So So it's actually, you can control temperature. Unlike the case of the evaporative cooling, where you can't control temperature, it's actually passive cooling. In this case, for the cool boat, you can regulate the temperature and it gives you as much cooling effect as the conventional cold room at a fraction of the price. So far this unit that you have here, the cost of installing it is between $6,000 to $7,000. And our idea is to find alternative insulation material so that we can bring this cost much lower, because still 6,000 is way above the means of smallholder farmers. So we have this one, I won't talk too much about it, is a new one, is solar powered refrigerated box, which is an innovation from Brunel University. And we're working in partnership with Brunel University. We're looking forward to conduct adaptive studies soon to see how it works, so that then we can have sufficient evidence to also promote it as an off-grid technology for smallholder farmers, especially in rural areas. Now, the other technologies, of course, like I mentioned, which can extend shelf life, like I said, I won't dwell too much in them. We have modified atmosphere packaging, waxing, 1MCP, hexanol, and other technologies that we have. The four that I mentioned, our team at the university has worked on them. Students have graduated with theses showing how effective these technologies are. And I'm just gonna share, before I get to share the research evidence, I just thought I'll share this photo. One of my students was looking at waxing as a way to preserve the quality of mango fruit. You can just see the evidence there. The unwaxed fruit, they are shriveled, and while the waxed ones are really looking nice and still firm. So that is just how effective these technologies are. And like I said, for us to promote, we have sufficient evidence from the lab. So how effective is the cold storage technology that I mentioned before? How effective are they to cool? And then how effective are they to slow deteriorative processes and preserve quality? So I won't even go into that, but you can rest assured that we have evidence from the lab that in fact these technologies are very effective. Just to mention in terms of cooling efficiency, we can see the charcoal cooler and the brick cooler. These are studies from some of the students. You can see how effective the charcoal cooler and the brick cooler are, because here you have them being compared to ambient room conditions. And what we have found from our research is that with the charcoal, with the evaporative cooling technologies, you can achieve a temperature difference between the outside and the inside the chamber between 4 to 15 degrees centigrade temperature difference. And that, if you remember what I talked about, the fact that for every 10 degrees increase in temperature, the spoilage increases 2 to 3-fold. So even that small difference is 4 to 15 degrees. That is our evidence. It all depends on the time of day and also and the weather or the season. Like I said, you can't control temperature in the evaporative cooling. It's passive. It all depends on how hot it is outside and how humid it is. So the efficiency is dependent on that. So you can see on the lower graph is showing humidity. You see one of the factors you saw in the previous slide, I showed factors that contribute to losses and wastage in the perishable produce is water loss. So with evaporative cooling, you have high humidity, which then minimizes water loss from the produce and therefore preserve the quality. For the cool pot technology, you can see how effective it is to first of all lower the temperature and then maintain those temperatures throughout storage, and then you can have your produce actually stored and preserved at that cold storage. As you can see in this slide that I'm sharing, this is evidence from one of the students that shows proper cold chain management, which involves the use of the technologies I've just shown, and poor cold chain management. What you can see there is, if you harvest your fruits at, these fruits in this study were harvested at what we call mature green, without cold storage, by day 15, you have to throw the fruits. But you can see with the cold storage, even until day 33, you still have your produce that is still good and sellable. So basically what you're saying is that with cold storage, you can achieve you can maintain quality for a longer period. And what that means for the farmers is, one, you don't have to sell. You can preserve your quality for longer as you source for the market. And like when you have just without any cold storage, then within, if you harvest at mature grain, that is the earliest maturity, physiological maturity for mango, then without any kind of cold storage, when you're waiting for them to ripen, it can only buy you 12 days and then it goes to spoil. Again, evidence from research, preservation of quality, which I mentioned. This is in the case of vitamin C. You can see that waxing, which is coupled with cold storage, you can preserve the quality and maintain the vitamin C, as you can see, much longer compared to when you have your produce that is stored at ambient room conditions or without waxing. Again here, modified atmosphere, you can again see vitamin C preserved. You can see the storage, the fruits actually prolonged, the shelf life prolonged to as long as 40 days when you couple cold storage with modified atmosphere packaging. So this is just to show you that cold storage, of course, some technologies would work, but when you have cold storage, then you have the synergy, more effective storage or quality preservation. Okay, so what does it mean for the smallholder ultimately? It basically means if these smallholder farmers have this kind of technologies to extend shelf life, they can aggregate their produce. Because remember, most of our farmers, their produce is very small quantities. So I can't even tell a smallholder farmer to buy a cold room or even to invest in a cold room, because the quantity or the amount of their produce cannot even justify the investing in this kind of technology. But when they're organized in groups, then they are able, with this kind of technology, they're able to aggregate and therefore attain the quality, the quantity, and consistency that is demanded by the bulk buyers. Then, of course, as a group, they can negotiate for better prices. The reason you find that they're selling their mangoes for 4 shillings is because they do not have any bargaining power, because the traders go straight to them and they tell them, anyway, even if you don't sell to me, it's going to go to waste anyway. So the farmers are basically, the reason they sell for that for the small amounts of money they do is because they are basically at the mercies of the traders. Okay, but if they are empowered in this way with these kinds of technologies, then they can actually work as a group and negotiate for better prices. That is the value proposition for these kinds of technologies. And then, so basically, there's no pressure to sell, because I can tell you, if you are a mango farmer or any other perishable produce farmer, for that matter, when the produce matures or ripens, you either sell for whatever you're given, or it will go to waste. So you are under pressure to sell. But if you have this kind of facility, you are not under any pressure to sell. You can actually store and sell later. But most importantly, you can, not importantly, but additional to preserving under cold storage to sell later, you can also do value addition. This is again part of what we are promoting at zero loss centers. So I won't talk too much about processing, because I said I'll focus myself, because of time, I'll focus only on the cold storage. But I just need to highlight that if produce is not sold, it can actually be processed. We have dry processing and we have wet processing. I'll show you some of I'll quickly show you some of the technologies that we can use to do value addition for mango, and have these products that you can see in the slide in the bullet below. You can make all kinds of products from mango as a way of minimizing wastage at zero loss centers. Now we have at the University of Nairobi, what we've been trying to do as we talk about value addition at zero loss centers, we are trying to build capacity of the farmers so that and processors, so that they can do value addition. Value addition is not just drying, because you have seen some of us, if you come from Nairobi, you have seen some products in the market. They are dried, but they are not. I can't buy because the quality is not good. Okay, so what you're trying to do at this food processing hub, which is supported also still by the Rockefeller Foundation and the Foundation for Food and Agricultural Research, is to build capacity of processors so that they process products that can meet the requirements of the market and sell. Because if you process products that don't sell, you haven't made any difference to the problem. You know, because it's just an expensive waste, because you spend resources to add value or to process a product that you won't sell. So it's important that if you do value addition, you do it properly. And that's why we have the food processing hub to train processors. Okay, so for mango, you can see with those kinds of small scale processing facilities, we are training farmers to make all kinds of products. And these are just some of the products that you can make from mango. Yeah, you can see the mango wine has been one of the, in quotes, flagship products, because people really got interested. People didn't know that wine does not only come from grapes. You can actually get very high quality wine from mango. And this wine product, we're still trying to get certification for it, but it's a product that everybody is looking for from our food processing hub. But apart from that, you can make juices, you can make mango enriched yogurt, you can make jam, you can make dried products, as you can see in that photo over there. And then, like I said, when you have a zero loss center, so you have preserved for fresh market, you have done value addition to get products that you can sell, processed products. But now our new activity that we're doing with the people from the animal production or animal nutrition team, because one of my colleagues, I believe she's among the participants, she's called Dr. Joyce Maina, and she told me that she came to me and told me, you have a lot of wastage from mango. Can we do something with the peel and the kernel from the mango? I had never thought about it that way. Of course, for me, what I was encouraging the farmers is to compost the peel and the waste peel and the kernel, so that they can use it as compost manure. But then we now have a new thing coming from animal nutrition people telling us that you can actually use the peel and the kernel to make animal feed. So this is the work that we have just started in partnership with the team from animal nutrition, and we're excited to see how better they say that the yolk will be better because of the yellow color from the mango. So that is work in progress. When we get these results, I will be so glad to share it. Okay, that is just to tell you that we can do the zero loss center is about adding value to each and everything that comes to the zero loss center. Okay, so what have I said in a nutshell? What I've said is that with these technologies, you can see at every stage of the supply chain, of the value chain, there's all these, when produce come to the zero loss center, there's technology for, handling and grading the crates. We have technologies for pre-cooling. We have technologies for cold storage. We have technologies for extending the shelf life. We have technologies for value addition, whether it is wet or dry processing. And then we have now moving into valorization, adding value to the waste so that it doesn't just go to the dustbin. So basically, we are not just talking. We have done this practically with the farmers. So we have aggregation centers in 2 locations, 2 counties in Kenya, Karurumo in Embu County, and a place called Masi in Machakos County. And we're working with WFP to scale up, to use these technologies, the charcoal cooler, the brick cooler. Now we have introduced them at marketplace in a county called Turkana, because we have a lot of wastage also at the marketplace. And so we have 2 markets where we're introducing this technology, and our goal is to see this scaled to every county and beyond. Okay, so our capacity building initiative, like I said, we want to train the small scale farmers and processors to do value addition of produce. So at the food processing hub, this is what goes on. I told you last week I was training. This is what goes on at our food processing hub, value addition of mango. So we have all kinds of products from mango. And then we have this unit at our campus again to train not just our students, because they have to be practitioners when they go out. So they get to learn about these technologies firsthand at the university. This is new, but also we do demonstration for practitioners in the field. So our goal is to bring the potential users to come and see what is on offer and which one of them they can adapt. And like I said, we have our engineering people on call. If you want it, they can fabricate for you in a minute. So thank you for listening. These are our research partners, research and funding partners. As you can see on this slide, I won't verbalize, you can just see who they are. So we're looking for more partners, because we are in this for the long haul. Thank you so much for listening to me. I think after the Q&A, I have one final slide, which I need to announce some 2 events that are coming soon that will happen after this the Q&A session. Thank you so much for listening to me. Sorry, it was pretty long, but I hope you learned something. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. I don't know, maybe you can first, before we go to the Q&A, just announce those two events coming up, just because it kind of makes sense that you can just announce that to the group now, and then we'll go into the Q&A. So that would be good for me.
Excellent. Okay, so I just wanted to, so like I said, we are in the business of capacity building, and we want to do this all over. So in the month of May, we're planning a 5-day course. This is offered under a project that is called Capacity Building in Security, in Food Security for Africa, CALS Food Africa project, which is under ARUA, which Professor Lindiwe is here. I'm glad that she's here. She's like I said, she's the director of the Center for Sustainable Food Systems. So this online course, I want to announce that soon you'll be getting more information soon, so that you can register to join. It will be a 5-day course with the online theory session, a practical session where you'll get to see some of those things that I've just talked about in the presentation, the practical training on value addition and post-harvest handling at the unit that I showed you, and then we'll have a field trip where we take you to the, through the to the one of those smallholder aggregation centers to actually see practical application of those technologies. That is one I'm announcing. And then the second upcoming event that I'm going to announce is the 3rd All Africa Post-Harvest Congress and Exhibition. It's coming in September. And again, the call for papers is open. So the website is right there. I might share it in the chat box. It's www.aaphce.com. That is coming in September. So look out if you're a researcher, if the call for papers is open. So please join us also in that event where we showcase beyond what we've discussed here. There's more, so that we see what is happening in this field of post-harvest management in the African context. Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you, Jane. And I met Jane at for the first time at the second All Africa Congress. I'm looking forward to the 3rd one. So that's excellent. So we have a number of questions, but I encourage you to use the Q&A feature or the chat, but the Q&A feature is maybe a little bit better. So I'm going to facilitate the questions. First of all, I think we have Betty Kibara from the Rockefeller Foundation as a participant, and I'm just going to ask Nicholas, could you allow Betty to use her mic and camera, and we'll ask another question while we're working that out. Okay, sorry about that. But from Mario from Brazil, we have a question. Are there actions being developed for the use of natural substances with antifungal action for edible coatings in mangoes? We had an edible coatings a webinar just about a month ago. So is there that research going on, Jane?
Basically, in my team, we don't have that kind of research going on, but I know I have colleagues from the department of in our university department of food science who've been trying to look at natural, or what you call biological control. Preservatives for post-harvest. So I can't talk authoritatively about this because I'm not involved in that research. But yes, there are people now, there's a shift towards natural products in preservation of quality. So yeah, that is possible, and it's something that is there. We haven't worked on this kind of innovation in our team.
All right, thanks on that. Betty, can you use?
Yes, yes. Am I unmuted? I can't tell whether I'm unmuted.
You're unmuted.
I can hear you.
Yes.
All right, cool. Yes, my name is Betty Kibara, and I'm a director at the Rockefeller Foundation, leading some aspects of our food initiative. And Jane Ambuko and the team have worked with us very well from when we started conceptualizing the the zero loss centers. And I think for me, my key takeaway is that first, the University of Nairobi, you guys have done a good job. But I think our observation then was that once you have saved, you have reduced the losses, you have all these great products. I think the biggest challenge has been aggressively marketing the products and finding someone to buy, because the utilization of the aggregation centers, and especially by the brokers or the middlemen, they hardly actually use the aggregation centers. And so if you think about who is using the aggregation centers, mostly these are more formalized SMEs who want to take the mangoes for processing, and for example, the very high-end SMEs who are processing, for example, the banana flour or dried mangoes. So I think for me, as we replicate this model, we must really have a very, very strong component around engaging with even the market, even starting with the market, for example, looking at who can do the mango wine as an off-taker, who can do the dried products, not just one company, but many of them. So I think Jane and your team and anyone who is going to take this forward, please let's just focus on making sure that we are driven by the market and the product. I think that's one comment. My second comment is that we also have an opportunity to have zero loss centers, but located where the brokers or those who are consuming, taking a lot of volume from the farmers. And we are piloting something very close to what I'm saying, where the Association of Mango Traders have come together, members of the association have come together, and we have helped them to set up a processing plant, but within the city. So I think let's also think about different models and different configurations for zero loss centers. But overall, very good job by Jane and your team. We're very excited about the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Great to hear from you. Yes, I think just to add on what Betty is saying, like I said, when we ventured into the aggregation centers, little did we know that we thought, actually for us, the hypothesis then was, we are solving a logistic problem for traders. That, traders, like when they go to look for mangoes from the farmers, you see the farmers are smallholder and they're scattered everywhere. So, they have to go pick a small volume here and a small volume there to eventually have, they come with a lorry with like a 7-ton or 10-ton. By the time they have to get the 10 tons, it is a few days in the field. So the thinking then was, we have aggregated the produce for you. So you simply come and you pick the produce. So you should be able to pay a little more. That was, for me, it was no brainer, but we were shocked that these traders actually shun the aggregation centers, because they know these farmers will want more than what they usually pay them when they pick from them individually at the farm. So that's why, like Betty is saying, the idea of working with the traders also, so that for example, if this trader wants a certain variety of a certain quality, so you work with them to aggregate that produce they want, so that when they come, they pick what they ask you to aggregate, as opposed to just aggregate. For us, we're thinking about aggregating quality, and you'd imagine that everybody will be ready and willing to pay for quality, but that is not the case. So the model, like Betty is saying, is to go back and say, what, we need to work with the traders so that we aggregate for them, so that there's no negotiation beyond, they refuse, because the farmers who now just have produce and they're hoping to, get good value from the traders are still suffering because they are shunned by the traders. So that is the challenge that we have had with when you try to pilot this. But of course, going forward, we are looking at it from a different perspective. And that's why the model we're adopting now with the WFP for traders is like the people, they're the users of the technology, so that this is theirs. They bring produce from wherever, they hold it at the marketplace in the cold room, and so it is for them. Not for them, they're reducing, like Betty said, there's a lot of wastage at the marketplace. So when they bring produce to the market, they don't lose it there. So that means that also that should cascade down to the farmer, because if they're not going to lose at the market, then there's value to say that, you know, they should be able to pay a little more. That is also an assumption, but well, time will tell if that will work. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Jane. We have a question from Deirdre talking about, are there any disadvantages to using the cold bot compared to regular cold room? For example, is the relative humidity lower, or do the air conditioners have a shorter life?
Okay, so in terms of for the air conditioner, basically with the CoolBot technology, there are various air conditioners that have been used. So first of all, when you're using it, you have to, you know, get an air conditioner that is compatible with the CoolBot. And yes, I can't remember the name. He said that there's a disadvantage with them. So what we have done, because the first time we introduced the CoolBot in Kenya, we didn't know about that disadvantage because it's forced air. So the produce gets to be, you know, it makes the produce shrivel, though it is cool, but you see it is, you know, enhancing water loss from the produce because it's dry air. So how we got around that, remember what I mentioned in my presentation, the complementarity. Like now when you wax, then you help the produce. The produce is not prone to water loss that is occasioned by the, you know, forced air that passes over the produce. And then the other thing we have done, like because we have now these units in 3 locations, what we've done is introduce you know, a damp or a wet rag or sack in the cold room to increase the humidity in the cold room, because like you said, it's true, because of forced air, water tends to evaporate from the produce. But of course, waxing would help to deal with that problem. And then one of my students did modified atmosphere packaging, which then, you know, modified atmosphere, it you know, increases humidity around the produce. So then you complement the cooling with the CoolBot with modified atmosphere. Then you have better results.
Okay, so you have a lot of lessons learned basically in implementing this technology.
Exactly.
I just want to add a question from me is the CoolBot just cheaper in general? Is that the idea, right? Or than a traditional cold room?
Yeah, basically, actually the technology, when you come to the CoolBot cold room, it has 3 components. There's the CoolBot, which is the technology, the innovation. It costs like $300. Okay. Then you have the insulated room, which you heard me say, we're trying to see how can we find alternative insulation so that we can bring down the cost of the room. Okay. So there's the insulation of the room, and then there's the AC. Okay, so those 3 components together, the price is between like $6,000 to $7,000. Okay, which is actually cheaper anyway than your conventional cold room. Okay, so basically for the CoolBot, and then the other thing with the CoolBot cold room is that the energy consumption is lower than your conventional cold room. So those are the advantages of the CoolBot cold room. But of course, it has, like somebody said, disadvantages. So you have to see how to navigate around those disadvantages so that you make this what is otherwise affordable technology also useful for the end users.
We have a question from Louisa, who's talking about, and I think in general, I think she might be talking about the cold rooms. Do these encourage ripening or halt ripening entirely? Technologies. I think, you know, I guess you could talk about ripening in general in a cold room. It would be the question.
No, the idea, if you saw in the slide, you see basically what we cold storage will slow down ripening. Okay, but it's important, if you, for example, you're harvesting mangoes, you must harvest them at least physiological maturity. That is important because we say the harvested fruit is living. It will continue to ripen if it is harvested at the right maturity. So what cold storage does is to slow the ripening, because we are slowing the ripening, for example, if you're looking for market. right? So of course, if you want the fruit, if you're harvesting for immediate consumption, then you don't need to do cold storage, right? So, but if you say you're harvesting for later sales, or you want to aggregate, like I said, the idea of having this at aggregation or zero loss centers is because you're aggregating over time. So farmers are bringing in small quantities, which you want to aggregate to attain a certain volume or a certain quantity for maybe a market that you're targeting. So that way, it means you want to slow down the ripening. So that's the essence of cold storage. Otherwise, the fruits, if harvested at the right maturity, it will continue to ripen. Of course, cold storage, and remember, mango is a tropical fruit. So we don't store it at below 12 degrees C because of chilling injury. So you see, 12 degrees C does not sufficiently stop ripening. It slows down ripening, but the fruits eventually ripen. Okay.
Great. Thanks for the answer on that one. Just turning to drying a bit. I would imagine you have a lot of different types of drying technologies that are, but are there any kind of studies that you've done or you could share related to maturation stages? It's by Paul Viola.
Okay, so we've had, there's some students who have conducted studies because you see for drying, you want the fruit to be farm ripe, okay? Remember mango, as it matures, or rather as it ripens, it becomes less acidic. When it is mature green, until it reaches optima, it's acidic, okay? So when the fruits that we use for ripening, they need to be ripe, but farm ripe, because remember, you need to chip it. And the chips need to be, nicely defined. So when of course, if you get an overripe fruit, you cannot chip it nicely. So we go for the farm ripe fruit. So the students who have conducted some studies, to look at, the effect of, the ripening stage or variety on the quality of the chips, and you realize that there's a stage, and it also depends on the consumer. There are consumers who like their chips a bit acidic, but there are consumers who like them just sweet with less acidity. So if you dry them earlier, because they need to be firm, they'll be a little bit acidic because of the acidity, because acidity disappears as the fruit ripens. They'll be a little acidic, but some people like them that way, okay? But if you want them less acidic, then you want to edge closer to that, full ripening, but not too ripe, because then the slices cannot be nicely defined as you'd want them. Because one of the things you have to do when you're packaging, you have dried your fruits and you want to package them, you don't want, because remember mango is fibrous. So if you don't have the slices nicely defined, you'll have the edges which are not clean. Yeah, which again, it doesn't look good. So we basically, what we've done with the students is to, we've achieved, that ripening stage, which is gives you a quality that is good, not too acidic and not too ripe for the chips not to be well defined. Okay, but of course, part of the research that we have done, they have tried to do is look at the pre-treatments that you have to do to ensure that the quality is preserved. So that is a story for another day, because there's some pre-treatments you have to do to ensure that the quality and the color of the fruits is preserved. So that is also another study in itself.
Great, thank you, Jane. We have a question here, and I know we're getting close to the hour mark, but we have a few more questions. So if we can, we'll just go a bit longer here on the questions, if that's okay with you, Jane.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a question here about basically about production interventions to avoid trade-offs, and they're basically saying because production challenges can derail the post-production interventions. So talk a little bit about production, and I think this is basically around the kind of the fruit fly and weevil issues that you touched on.
Yeah, sure. I think maybe the Simon probably came in after I had done that bit, because like I said, whatever happens in the field is important, because the nutrient management, water nutrient management, the pest and disease management, cultural practices, they affect the quality of the fruit. Okay, so for something like fruit fly, I already mentioned this. If we do not manage the fruit fly in the field, it is going to affect our fruit after harvest. And I shared my own experience of mangoes that I was given, and half of them I threw because they had either the fruit fly or they were infested by anthracnose, right? So what we have done in these zero loss centers, the first one that we established in the place I called Embu County, we were working with the extension people and TechnoServe Kenya to be specific, and the field officers from TechnoServe, what they're doing is to train farmers on how to manage, the fruit fly using the fruit fly trap. So if you go to this region where this project has been, you'll find that farmers have actually adopted the fruit fly trap as a way of money, because like I said, the fruit fly has actually cost us Kenyan, it has cost us the export market. And I know Rockefeller Foundation is working with USAID to come up with, there's a campaign to stop the fruit fly, because it has cost us a lucrative market in Europe and US. So really it is important, and it's part of the capacity building that is being done to ensure that farmers manage the pre-harvest component, whether it is the nutrient management, and we have students who have studied this. Even calcium has an effect on the quality of the fruits. So I also have, I know there's a colleague in this meeting called Dr. Kitonyo, and they're working on treatments like silicone in the field, and that has an impact on the quality. So it is important, like I said, we ensure that whatever happens in the field gives us high quality, which then we preserve using these post-harvest technologies.
Great, great. Thank you for that answer. I have a quick question, and I'm about. We have a question about managing. Can these technologies be used to manage it or control the post-harvest disease of? Oh man, I can't really pronounce it. It's LISIODIPLODIA. And so I apologize for not being able to pronounce that word. I'm not sure if you're the expert here, but go ahead.
No, I actually didn't even understand the question.
Okay,
so,
all right. Well, we'll get back to that person and see if we can find some answers on that. Yeah. So we'll get into that, and we'll talk offline with that person. And so basically, I think we've gone through a whole bunch of questions here now, and so I'd just like to thank Jane, thank the participants. Again, I'd like to plug both of the the save the dates that Jane has outlined, and they're on the screen right now. The third All Africa Post-Harvest Congress and Exhibition, and which will be September 13th to the 17th. That is a kind of hybrid event, right? Virtual and physical.
yes.
So, hopefully we can, that might be in a place where we can attend, or maybe not. So, but we'll be there virtually. At least, the consortium will be there virtually. Either way, and Jane, I know, will be running around no matter where she's at, organizing there for sure. And then the 5-day course that we will help Jane promote and pull off as well. So Jane, is there any information about when people might receive that?
So basically we are working on the info package on so yeah, just watch the space. I put some contact. I have this I think I'll get this mailing list so that we can, especially for the online theory course, is a learning course, so if anybody is interested, they can plug in. So we'll be sharing this information. I think Kyle, I'll get the contact emails of all the participants, and then we can share these. So those who are interested can actually register and be part of the course.
Yeah. So we'll distribute that to everyone who registered for this webinar. So that's wonderful. So additionally, on March 24th, we will be having another consortium webinar. That'll be 2 in the month of March. It'll be with our friends and colleagues from Isolculog in Brazil. So we are really looking forward to that. That presentation will be on March 24th, same time, and it will be a Zoom webinar. So again, thank you very much, Dr. Jane Mbuko from the University of Nairobi. Thank you very much to the Rockefeller Foundation, the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research, and everyone who's participated in this webinar. I thought it was really excellent. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, and thank you all for joining the webinar. It was really an honor to speak to you all, and I want to believe you learned a thing or two. Let's keep talking about post-harvest loss reduction. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.